I really should not be surprised, but with every day that passes, I am shell-shocked with regards to the lengths that the most powerful people will not only just stay in power, but what they do behind closed doors. It just seems to be the case that power and the prospect of power attracts the most immoral, the most degraded individuals on this planet. Now, I want you to watch this video, and then we will discuss why it's possible that Trump may be a PDF file.
You know, I think part of why Kamala is getting so much support is that if Trump wins, that Epstein client list is going to become public. Yes. And some of those billionaires behind Kamala are terrified of that outcome.
Now, watch what Trump thinks about Jeffrey Epstein and the investigation of the Epstein files.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this.
Now, it appears that there is a complete turnaround, a flipping of the script. The investigation into the Epstein files was primarily one of the main cultural war talking points that MAGA were putting forward in order to be elected. In fact, this was one of the main, and anti-establishment, the draining the swamp, kind of associations of how the people, the establishment, and the most super rich, the most powerful people in society are the most morally wicked people, and they are all associated with the worst of what humans are capable of. In this case, literal PDF files. Now, it appears that Trump no longer cares about investigation into the Epstein files. In fact, he's almost panicking at this point because he is making assertions as to Obama or the Clintons editing the Jeffrey Epstein files. Now, this is particularly absurd, considering that he himself was one of the champions of investigating the Epstein files, and prior to being elected. And it appears that it may be that he's implicated in the Epstein files, and now he no longer cares about the Epstein files. Let's also put into the question, some of the strange circumstances following and surrounding the Epstein files. For example, Virginia Giuffre, one of the people part of the sex trafficking rings of Jeffrey Epstein, and of course Prince Andrew. And now it wasn't decided that Prince Andrew was a PDF file in a court, but there was a £16 million settlement insinuating, or it's pretty obvious that he was involved in the sex trafficking and the sexual assault on a minor. This is why Prince Andrew is stowed away when it comes to any discussion of the royal family, because he is a blemish, he's a blight on the royal family, and they don't want to be really associated with him in the public light. Every family has its rotten egg, and he is obviously the most rotten of society. But it's quite interesting that other tragic too, that she passed away, Virginia Giuffre passed away just several months ago, and now Trump wants to close the entire case of investigating the Epstein files. This seems rather a bit too counterproductive, unless you yourself, Trump, is implicated in that, and that is not hard to believe, considering that he was a friend of Epstein, and they were, buddy. You could see countless shots of them together, countless chin-wagging kind of behavior amongst these two buddies. So it's not a surprise that the most powerful people in the world see themselves as above everyone else. They're above any kind of common discourse, any common decency, and they're constantly looking for the next thrill or next kind of experience of dominating what they consider the status quo. And they do it by, let's say, expanding their net wealth, expanding their power. One could be also expanding their kind of, or rather transcending what is normal for human beings, the normal experience. And this includes sex trafficking, the worst, whether it's, and also Bill Cosby, the kind of what we saw with R. Kelly, with and Diddy, the most powerful people and the most culturally powerful people within society, they with huge net worths, they're constantly, not all of them, but we see a trend amongst a large proportion of these people who are constantly looking for the next thrill, the next high, in order to, and this for some of these people is to dominate what they consider to be the kind of the vulnerable or the taboo subjects. Furthermore, it's quite clear, since Trump is compromised, Trump investigating Epstein files at this point is like Israel investigating its war crimes. You're not going to get a straight and accurate and honest answer. They're going to redact, they're going to edit out the files, they're going to, frame it in such a way that makes them out to be innocent. And then, they may be, as we speak right now, they may be editing it, and weeks later, it'll be found out, they were not part of it. And, the insult to our intelligence in that they expect us to just go on with our lives, because even though it implies that Trump himself is or has been involved with activities that would would only be deemed as the worst of the worst, the kind of the activity, the sex trafficking, the sexual assault on minors. This is what you expect the worst, the dregs of society to be involved with. And yet you will see a large proportion of pro-Trump people who just turn a blind eye to this. But there is also a growing so-called traditional MAGA people who are seeing that Trump is putting not America first, but Israel first, or, Ukraine first, or, the kind of how Trump is acting very much like the very establishment that he was designed to be opposed, or rather, that's what he led us to believe. And that is how he persuaded us that he was not part of the swamp of society. And here we are seeing that Trump himself is very obvious in choreographing his moves, in that he is not being forthright, he's not being particularly enthusiastic, as he has been in the past with regards to the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein, and rather the client list, the people who are involved with Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking. It just seems a bit too convenient, just like how Israel operates. And it's got nothing to do with ethnic groups, nothing to do with certain groups of people, demographics of people. It's just how power works. And it just so happens that how Israel was founded by the billionaire class. It was founded by people who were racial supremacists to begin with, wanted to create a society in their own image. And Trump, of course, is not different, and he's not an exception to that rule. It just so happens that there was a study done that people who are more likely to, the percentage of people who are psychopathic amongst the kind of the CEO, the magnate type person, the super rich, super powerful people, it's the same proportion of people who are psychopathic in that demographic as there are within the prison population. And it's not surprising. In order to get to that level of power and to really crave that power enough to work at it and dominate other people, to not have red lines when it comes to moral boundaries, you need to have a psychopathic streak. And so they may speak to the public with regards to being against the exploitation of the vulnerable. But when the truth is kind of shown to us and it's displayed to us on the table, actually they are implicated. They are involved with some really dark arts, dark behaviors that ourselves, the average person, would not be involved in. And let's not forget that, this is paralleled. This is paralleled, by the actions of Israel. And it's not a surprise that he himself, Trump, is one of the greatest friends of Israel. Power does not see morality. Power only sees a stepping stone to more and greater power. And so, and the tactics that power uses in order to cover up its crimes is only a way to protect its self-image. It's a PR game. So when Trump himself, says that there's nothing to be, nothing to investigate, it's no different to Israel saying the very much similar thing. Israel is merely the personification of that power-hungry individual, because of course it's a colonial entity. It's a settler colonial entity, and its ideology is about supremacy, ethnic supremacy. And that is basically the personification of the narcissism and egotism that we see in people like Trump and people like Elon Musk. And they, whilst they may have different values at a superficial level, in the end they believe that they are a cut above everyone else. And just a couple of days ago, Israel was found out to be bombing or shelling children waiting for water, waiting in line just for merely water. And kind of a week before that, Israel was shelling another group of children waiting for supplements. And the reason they always give is like, oh, it's a technical error, or it's Hamas. But it seems to fit the same kind of pattern of the lying, the deception. And we know the bigger picture here. It's what power wants. Power, in this case, is dominating the Palestinians to the level of just erasing them from society completely, so as to fulfill their final solution. This is how they can maintain an ethno-state without the resistance from the indigenous people from which they've taken the land from. Anyways, there is some more to be said about psychology of psychopaths in charge as individuals, but also as society, ethno